Welcome back to Marketplace Middle East. Israel's economy is enjoying the fruits of tax cuts and reforms put forward by Benjamin Netanyahu. It's now in the capable hands of Stanley Fischer, central bank governor of Israel. Fischer talked with us this week from Tel Aviv, and I began by asking him what impact the U.S. credit crunch will have on the Israeli economy.
There's no question that what happens in the U.S. will affect the Israeli economy. We've been growing very rapidly in the last 4 years, but we're a big exporter to the United States. And if the United States slows down, and that's what it unfortunately looks like, we'll be affected for sure.
How much impact do you think the global credit crunch is going to have on Israel? And how long will this crunch last in your view? We're going to get some daylight in 6 to 12 months?
It's having a small impact on us at the moment in that spreads on Israeli bonds have widened. But our banks were by and large not involved in the questionable assets, and so they haven't been directly impacted, and that's good for us. As to how long it will last, well, that depends on what the central banks do. They've been very active now in getting into the market, pumping in liquidity, and beginning to cut rates or not raise them. 6 months is a reasonable guess. Could be a little less than that, but these things are very difficult to call.
In our report, we talk about the trade that Israel is experiencing right now. 46% of that trade takes place with Europe and Asia. Can Israel leverage this opportunity in the Middle East to trade both to Asia and Europe in a bigger way in the upcoming years, in your view?
Oh, that's the way the trend is going for sure. We do about a third of our trade with the United States. That our exports may go down a bit as the U.S. economy slows, but there's a general push in the direction of Asia in particular. And with exchange rates between Israel and Europe sort of remaining more favorable for us than vis-a-vis the U.S., I expect trade will move in the direction of Europe as well. So I think we'll leverage that. But that takes a time, and we're going to be affected by the decline in export, likely decline in the rate of growth of exports to the United States. We just have to deal with that.
There are some estimates that a peace agreement between Israel and Palestine would boost the Israeli economy by 1.5% to 2% a year, which is extraordinary. Do you share the same belief if it happens?
We could benefit a great deal from a peace agreement with the Palestinians and from a more secure geopolitical environment in this whole region. The benefits, incidentally, will not be mainly from the fact that we do more trade with our neighbors, though we will do that, and that'll be positive. It will just be the impact on the investment environment in Israel. We're very successful in bringing in foreign investors. Rate of investment in the economy is rising. Domestic investors are investing. But creating a more secure environment from the long-term viewpoint will undoubtedly benefit us. I don't know if 2% is right. I'm sure 1% is within the ballpark. It'll be substantial. And besides, even for economists, there are more reasons than that to look forward to a more peaceful situation with our neighbors.
Indeed. There's a very interesting trade program, the qualified industrial zones that Israel has with Egypt and Jordan, for example, right now, and very successful. Do you see Israel realistically trading with the Gulf Cooperation Council countries with this boom that's underway right now?
The Gulf countries have made it clear that what will really change the situation drastically is progress on the peace with the Palestinians. And when we get there, I have no doubt that trade will become open and quite extensive. We have a lot of high-tech products. They're quite wealthy economies. There should be a lot of interest in what we produce.
It's nice to have you on the program. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.
Fischer is very familiar with global challenges. He was at the forefront of the Asia crisis in 1998, having worked with a number of governments on their restructuring plans. Next week on Marketplace Middle East, the Bush trip rolls on. The U.S. president heads to the Gulf on the next leg of his Middle Eastern tour. We'll take a look at the business ties that bind the United States and the GCC. Be sure to tune in for that. If you want to know more about any of our stories, please visit our website, cnn.com/MME, or send us an email at mme@cnn.com. Thanks for joining us for this edition of CNN Marketplace Middle East. I'm John Defterios. We'll see you next week.